How's it going, everyone? All right, we are officially back on with our Takeover Tuesday, and we have the group from Unusual Whales. Sorry, I was trying to read all your names, so I'm going to screw it up. So, either way, we got Rensole, we got NeighborhoodStonerman, we got Falcon, and danwagnerco in the house tonight, who have kicked me out. Let's face it, they're going to kick me out with some great information that they're bringing in from everything that they do. So, with that being said, I will let you guys take it over.
All right. First of all, thank you for having us. For the people who don't know who we are from Unusual Whales. And to give a very, very brief intro on what we do and who we are, we basically believe that why should hedge funds, corporations, and politicians be the only ones with resources needed to trade successfully? So we have a very simple mission. It's to help retailers, traders achieve success in a market that is inherently stacked against us. So we aim to level the playing field, so to say, by providing tools, information on options, stock, and eventually even crypto. The information will always be free with active and helpful Twitter, Discord, and Reddit communities, and education will be readily available throughout the next coming weeks and months. And yeah, there is a premium service, but that's not our primary focus. I mean, let's be honest. We're actually trying to help people educate, and the education will always remain free. Unusual Whales also does analysis stuff on political insider trading, statistical reports such as does Dave Portnoy have paper hands, or does Kenny really, really love mayo so much as he owns part of Heinz? Or what does the Senate do, like, for example, Pelosi? With me are probably people you'll already recognize if you watched us. It's a neighborhood stoner man. He's the guy who usually runs Twitch with me. We have the two big brains with us, the smarties, Falcon and Dan, and they actually know what they're doing, unlike me. So, with that said, welcome. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Excited to be here, y'all.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good to see some faces.
Good to see some logos in chat down there as well. And we'll also we're here to kind of hang out with you guys for the most part. So if when we're just kind of chatting and bouncing stuff around, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to pop a hand up and we'll do our best to give an answer. But it'll most likely be Dan or Falcon doing the smart talk.
I am not that smart. I don't know where you're getting that from.
Yeah, same.
And I appreciate you guys being here. I think you guys are going to offer a great source of information. I mean, Unusual Whales has been doing some phenomenal things. So when I heard that, Rensole joined, me and Rensole have kind of gone back and forth a few times over the last, 9 months or so, running in the same circle. That happens. So, but it, when he got that, got to tell us that he had joined, we were like, holy crap, that is epic, dude. And then, obviously our partnership with Unusual Whales, you guys are always welcome on the BullHouse. I know you guys have your Twitch thing, but if you guys ever do want to come and crash, you're more than welcome. Anyone from the Unusual Whales is more than welcome to come crash at the BullHouse.
That offer is absolutely reciprocated too.
Oh, fantastic!
and I do
rate our
keep promising
community.
people. Yes, I keep promising people on there that hey, we're gonna have smart people and interesting people on. It's not just gonna be the idiot in the mask looking at random things. We're gonna have cool people on, and then we haven't done it yet. And so, I mean, eventually, we gotta fulfill that promise, and you're all more than welcome for sure.
I love to hear that because once I finish this weird mind map thing, I'm updating it. So I don't know if you guys have heard about it or have seen the original one, but I'm updating the mind map with the interlinkings and infinite loops of all the craziness. Once it's all finished, I will definitely send it over to you guys.
Oh, nice!
Awesome.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Cool. Thank you.
So, but I will hand it off to you, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to talk about today.
Yeah, we basically spitballed it and said, you know what, instead of doing some scripted thing, let's just go over the stuff that the community wants to go over and look at the stuff that happened this week. Like, for example, Ken Griffin had a interview yesterday on Bloomberg. I don't know if anybody else, most likely, they saw it, but he said some outlandish stuff like Chicago was almost like Baghdad, cryptomania is a jihadist call against the dollar, that sort of weird stuff. It just weirded me out. I'm just wondering what you guys thought of it, if you guys have seen it.
Yeah, that it definitely doesn't seem like the smartest thing to say on television, especially when you're already at the center of one of the most damning controversies that you can be at the center of. So I'm curious if, generally when these big folks go into big interviews and stuff like that, their responses are vetted, rehearsed in ways, and it just bad look. It didn't seem like he had anything at all prepared, and it showed.
Yeah, and that was a weird thing to me because, to be honest, this was pre-recorded. Because in the beginning, you can hear the laugh track suddenly cut out and cut back in.
Yeah,
And I used to work in entertainment like things, so laugh tracks and other Foley sounds like that. They are usually overused and used and used again. It's always the same laugh track. It's always the same glass you hear shattering. So I immediately recognized the laugh track. And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then it suddenly cut out, and it came back in. It's like, "What the hell is going on here?" But
right.
the guy didn't look good. Like he looks rough right now. And yeah, not only that, at the moment that that came out with him doing the interview, Facebook was down, Pandora Papers was getting released, and we're still waiting on Gensler to actually deliver a report. But he's failing to deliver on a report on failing on delivers. So
Yeah,
that,
the
at least
irony
he's
there is
consistent,
definitely not lost. Yeah, he's consistent.
right? And we've also seen Evergrande halting trading suddenly on Sunday, I believe it was, or early Monday, along with a couple of other Chinese stocks as well. We saw Fairyland or something like that halt as well. That was also due to debt. And then Biden said some really scary shit yesterday. That was in the days ahead, people may see their retirement account values sink and interest rates go up. I mean, he said that so callously that I was like, what alternate reality have I walked into?
It was fairly nonchalant, and the tone didn't
Yeah.
really convey genuine. It didn't convey genuine concern in some ways, but I mean, at the same time, at least there's someone on the surface saying things explicitly in some way, instead of the general runaround that's always done. So I mean, yeah, the reaction that we saw to that wasn't great.
No, I
One
honestly.
reaction that was impressive though this
Hmm.
week, and actually mostly today, as I'm sure a lot of people tuning in right now know, the Bitcoin had a nice little pushy poo and held over 50,000 for a hot minute there, and so the miners all popped off, but one of them, a smaller guy, newer, called BitChain. What were these guys called?
BT or something?
Yeah, Bit Digital Incorporated. I wrote an article. So we have two separate blogs that are in the process of being merged. One's more for data-driven things like stuff that Falcon and Dan do with the big brain, and then the other stuff is stuff that I do that another gentleman we have doing writing does, where we just kind of look at flow and take a look at causes that might have done it, or related factors if there are any. And today I wrote about this. BTBT is the ticker, Bit Digital Incorporated. And when I was writing about them, they were already smashing both Marathon and Riot, the two big boys, in terms of how high they were. They were up, I think, 10.5% when I started writing about them this morning. And then by the time I pushed the article out, they were up 20%. And by the time the day closed, they were at 36.36% and then went up more in after
Eesh.
hours. And the flow on like the Unusual Whales flow stayed pretty heavily bullish all day. Like around 70% of all premiums paid were bullish for Bit Digital just all day. And so I'm curious because usually when we see, these big pushes in the miners, a lot of times I see it get pushed back down pretty quickly, but it seems like everyone held pretty strong today, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, usually you see at least some sort of change during the day, like the flow goes a little bit more bearish. You can see different stuff happening, but it's staying above 70 all day is pretty impressive. Oh, that's actually a good one. Unusual Whales pays for the data to get directly from the indexes. So basically, when trades happen, he is linked in that system, and he can see everything that basically comes in.
I appreciate that. Yeah, sorry, Remedy. I thought I got my other mic unmuted. But yeah, Remedy, that was to answer your question that you had about where they're getting their information from.
I also want to comment. I think all of our data sources from Oprah. Regarding the actual flow, Rensole had mentioned the indexes, but as far as minute or tick data, basically on orders coming in, I believe that's coming from Oprah.
Yeah.
That's very fascinating. Thank you, guys. No, that's really good to know where you guys are getting your information from. So I mean, you know, we always, I don't know if you guys, how many people in here have actually heard me say this, is that, you know, that's just kind of the magic of BullHouse, is that we like getting information from all sites, all sources, you know, different spectrums, whether it's this way or that way, because somewhere in there is the truth in the middle. So I love that. I actually haven't realized that, you know, that was different sources than most places get their information. So thank you.
Yeah,
It's really crazy how varied those things are too. So I think I can't, you know, detail because I'm not one of the big brain, but I have noticed in readings that a lot of other tools that exist do have different sources of data, and it seems somewhat hard to trace that full lineage in some cases.
Yeah,
Dan
in
has
that
interesting
sense.
data too.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice
of
segue.
course.
Speaking of Dan's segue,
Yeah, I do. The Oprah data source is great, and I know from the conversations I've had with the Unusual Whales data engineering team that they are extremely concerned about data accuracy and validity. More so than I would have even expected. Once I had a moment to look through all of the documentation that they're using to classify the transactions as they come through on the tape. I'm making quotes with my hands like on the tape because obviously it's not on tape anymore. But the lengths that the data engineer goes to preserve accuracy are astounding, far beyond what I had initially expected. It was very, very impressive stuff there. But if you want to talk about the one of the Unusual Whales type strategies, I'd be happy to talk about that. But I certainly don't want to turn down any questions that might be floating out there or anything that other folks might want to discuss first. Right, I'm happy to go with the flow on that.
and I'm sure some questions will come up for that as well. Because he did a shorter, I guess not shorter, but a while ago he did one on this strategy in our Discord. And are you ending up putting that places as well, Dan?
Yeah. If by putting it places you mean like I have shared the YouTube link around into the other channels inside the Unusual Whales Discord, then yes. But as far
Fair
as
enough.
as far as sending that information out is concerned, I'm very happy to send that out to anyone and everyone, because all that information is public, and the tracking that I'm doing on that Google Sheet is public, and the slides, my very basic PowerPoint presentation about how the strategy came about and what the mechanics are is also public, and I'm happy to share all that information publicly as well. But as far as being a good PR person and promoter, I've been absolutely horrible about that, and I think my Twitter still has zero tweets to date.
With due
He's
time,
a ghost.
Right? For real. Okay.
Low recon.
Yeah, but I'd be happy to talk about the strategy at a very high level, and if other folks are interested in learning some more, I can talk to it more at depth. That said, I certainly don't want to bore anybody to death. And if questions come up, I'm happy to field them in the meantime. But the elevator pitch for this strategy is that alerts from the Unusual Whales system that have very long expiration cycles. So think more than 6 months out, 181 days or further out, on balance, have a larger, what's the right term for this? Have a larger concentration of positive outcomes when it comes to out of the money calls. So when I looked at this subset of information from Unusual Whales, which is also made available publicly, anybody can download all the alerts and all the performance associated with those alerts. Those are all up on the Unusual Whales blog for anyone to analyze and develop a strategy as they see fit. But what I found was that long-dated contracts that were flagged as unusual and alerted by the Unusual Whales system were winning at a rate that I thought was much better than usual. And so as I looked into that data more and more, I found that there were certain criteria about those alerts that were that led to success, like waiting a certain amount of time to see the contract value go up a certain amount, and avoiding certain contracts that go down in the beginning because those have already had an adverse negative outcome. And whenever I can, I like to protect my investment and have it go sideways or go up and not go down, or at least not go down by very much. So I was able to set up some thresholds for all that. And when it was all said and done, I was able to come up with some mechanics. There's a filter and a watch list inside Unusual Whales that is shared with anybody who wants the link. I'm happy to send it out. I sent it out early, but it was in a DM. Sorry about the ill preparation on that one. But then there's also a Google sheet that does some of the calculations on your behalf, so you don't have to know right off the top of your head, okay, if a $2.78 contract goes up 30%, when should I try to enter? When should I try to exit? The whole system was built based on the Unusual Whales alerts, because I did find that the whales that Unusual Whales was catching were very good at picking long dated options that significantly outperformed and returned on as far as a median was concerned. They returned 50 to 100% with more regularity than you might expect. So I'd be happy to talk more about the strategy or get into the details about how the strategy was developed. If anybody is interested, they are a unique type of option contract, because when most people think of options, they typically think of relatively short term, like maybe a few weeks out or a few months out, maybe at most. But a lot of these are happening in the April, June, and 2023 expiration cycles right now. But nonetheless, right, based on the historical data that I had available, which only covered 6 weeks, they did tend to be pretty performant and pretty interesting. So I'd be happy to talk more about that if other people are interested, or we can kind of leave that as something for folks to investigate more. I'm going with the flow, pun intended here on that. If as far as tonight's conversation goes.
Did Pete if any homies had questions at all so far?
I'm so sorry. What was that? I missed that last one.
If anybody had any questions whatsoever regarding that.
No,
but I think that
we haven't seen any question. Oh, we do have a hand up. To the moon. Oh, yep. Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Hey there. So I do have a question. I'm kind of still learning my way through the longer term options. And if you can't answer to this, I appreciate you knowing that your limitations are such that you can send me in another direction. But when I start looking at like 1 year options out, what I call leaps, I mean, some people call them leaps, others it's just a 1 year time frame. I'm kind of starting to research that sometimes I like the idea of if I can buy a leap option on rather than buying 100 shares of a stock, I can buy 10 leap options for less money and I still get the same benefit of the 1,000 shares of stock. I mean, I get the same, if the stock goes up, the leap goes up, I get the benefit of being able to borrow against it. Am I accurate in what I'm thinking I'm learning about 1 year out options?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. A long dated option does give you the leverage you're describing, depending on the options contract, the call that you select, assuming you're bullish on the underlying. Depending on the call that you select, you're definitely getting exposure as if you owned 70 shares of the underlying stock or 80 or 40, right? Whatever the delta of that options contract is, it's the equivalent. In shorthand, it's like the equivalent of owning that many shares, right? Is like a rough estimate. So when you do buy leaps or longer dated options, you are I'm longer term bullish exposure. And one of the reasons I do like this strategy is, first of all, I'm just generally not that good at picking like short term movements, right? Like I thought, oh, Facebook hit the bottom. I put on a put credit spread that just got smashed into oblivion. Like I put on a put credit spread on Facebook a couple weeks ago, right? And that hit very close to maximum loss like right away. So I'm not particularly good at understanding and predicting short-term price moves, but these whales are, and I like to follow them when I can. But also, just in general, when it comes to leaps or long-dated call options, the contract is going to be less sensitive to immediate price changes. So if the underlying goes up 30 or 40 cents and you have a call on AMD and it expires this Friday, your contract might go down 20 or 30% or whatever. You don't exactly know. The impact is going to be very great. But if you have a leaps type of call that doesn't expire until, let's say, January of 2023, if AMD goes down by 20 or 30 cents today, your contract probably isn't going to move very much at all.
So keeping along this line of thought, I'll ask the question this way. Why would I bother buying the underlying shares of AMD when I can leverage for far less money the same number of shares on leaps? Why wouldn't I want to do that?
Due to potential theta decay. Sorry for speaking over the top of Dan. You don't have any risk of losing intrinsic value by holding shares, versus if you're buying an out of the money call, you'll naturally see theta or time decay start to eat away at it over time. Now it increases much closer to the expiration cycle.
Sure.
That being said, but as far as an incentive from buying leaps over shares, it really just depends on your personal trading style and your risk tolerance.
Sure, and I think we all sort of understand the whole theta concept, but I look at leaps from the component of, we'll just use AMD. AMD might, in 6 months, it'll go up significantly enough. I'll just sell out my positions in 6 months and not worry about theta, because theta isn't really going to get hurt in 6 months. It's the last 30 days that I got to worry about theta more, as it gets that much close. And maybe I'm wrong on 30 days versus 60 days. The theta decay on a leap is insignificant for the first quarter or maybe 2 quarters if I'm researching it correctly.
You are researching that correctly. That's accurate. I would say that theta losses are definitely your biggest concern with leaps. If you buy 100 shares of AMD you could hold them for 10 years, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
and when you buy a Leaps contract, if things are going great and you're holding it and you decide not to you decide not to sell, and then some unspeakable thing happens to AMD and the price falls off a cliff, if you had shares, you could ride out you could ride it out indefinitely, unless of course AMD in this example goes out of business, or that something happens, right? But I personally am a big fan of long dated options to take advantage of the leverage that they offer you, right? Especially if you if you're very bullish on the underlying and you're willing to take a little heat on theta eating away for a period of time. I think they're a great they're a great way to express a bullish investment thesis, or a bearish one if you want to buy a long dated put. If you think some company is going to zero over the long term, right? You could do the same thing with a put.
So could I not roll my leap at 6 months, just roll it into another 12-month leap in 6 months and sort of manage my theta a lot better that way? Can I not roll them the same way I could any other option?
You can roll them the same. You can totally roll them the same way. Absolutely. Yeah. You're gonna get a tax ding. I think if you're in the United States, I'm not a tax specialist, or I'm very far from tax specialist, but when you close your contract and then open another one, that's going to be a transaction. So if you made some money on that, that's going to be short-term capital gains. I mean, I guess if you lost money on it, then you could like count that against your losses and roll it over. But that's the extent of my knowledge of the tax implications of using using leaps. So I won't go any further than that.
No, and I appreciate that, and that's very fair for you to kind of be comfortable with what you can share with me, because I'm still kind of like, I'm just sort of testing those waters myself, and it's like, okay, I think I get it, but maybe I don't, and so I'm just kind of starting to really look at, look, if I can buy AMD and leverage 10,000 shares for a fraction of the price, why would I not? I mean, if I believe in the stock, that's the kind of stuff I start looking at. I can make a whole lot more leverage for a lot less money, unless I'm missing something here.
Yeah. So not financial advice, of course. Right. So if your investment thesis is medium term wrong, your losses on the leaps they're gonna be significant. Okay. Right? Like the beauty of holding shares, right? Of holding the underlying is that you don't. I know this is like dumb talk, but the losses aren't realized until you realize them. But when you're buying an option, right? The option has you have to pay the piper eventually. That contract will eventually expire. I mean, I'm totally with you. I love them as long-term investment, like strategically. But I don't want to. I don't necessarily want the takeaway from this to be sell out of all your shares and buy all leaps, right? By exposing yourself to leverage, is the leverage axe will swing both directions, right? Like if your thesis is wrong, you're gonna take a lot of heat on those leaps, and you will not. I know that the timeline is incredibly long here. When you're talking about leaps, right? You have like more than a year, sometimes 2 years, but right, should the investment thesis be incorrect, there's a lot of safety in holding shares. And Falcon, I think I might have cut you off on that, so I'm gonna zip it and see if anybody else wanted to add to that.
The only thing I had to add is just some anecdotal evidence, but I'm holding a leap. I can't say for legal reasons, but I'm holding a leap on a certain ticker, and it's down about 4% in the 30 days I've been holding this. But it expires next December, and the contract itself is down 45%. So that's the other thing you're taking on, is you had mentioned, using a lot more leverage or less leverage in terms of total buying power, but in terms of percent loss, it can be really, really significant very quickly. Much like Dan said, the 40% loss, even though the underlying is only down 4%, is quite a bit more capital than you'd probably be comfortable risking.
And point taken. And one more thing to sort of close out and what I think I understand. I also get dividends paid on those stocks, even though I'm in a leap. Is that correct?
I do not believe so. No.
Okay.
Yeah, you own the option represents the right to exercise that option and convert it into 100 shares of the underlying. But while it's in contract option form, I don't think you're going to collect those dividends.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for asking questions.
Yeah, that was great. Appreciate you. Thanks, Tudamoon.
Thanks, Tiedemann.
This is why we keep Dan around, and Falcon.
I know nothing.
Beautiful explanations. Thank you, guys.
I did see that there's been a few questions that you guys have already been answering in the chat, seeing how, but Unknown is actually part of the staff here at BullHouse. He's been a little MIA due to different things with schooling and stuff. So, but seeing how we're living in interesting times, especially regarding inflation and the correspondence and stock prices, would you mind giving an assessment of whether the time frame observed by you might have a bias in favor of your strategy?
If I'm not speaking for Dan, but I'm just commenting on it. But it's hard to tell, because this is just statistics in its purest form. He's just looking at the percentage of time that they go up and how it rises in your favor. So obviously, current market health conditions could have an effect on the overall profit and loss of the strategy. In terms of percentage of, the ratio, 60% of these could be returning positive numbers, but in another 6 months you could only see 30%. But that's obviously attributed to the flow as well, and looking directionally, seeing where things are going. But for the time being, I don't think I would be too terribly bullish personally. So we could see some fluctuation, what's going on overall.
Yeah, that's a great answer, and I will just sprinkle on a little extra seasoning in that. So in the original report that I wrote for this, which is not published, all that's published is my simplified PowerPoint. The original report has an underlying 3-part hypothesis about why I think that this current strategy has been working the way it has. And reason number one is that it's a bull market, right? The stocks are going up. When you're buying long dated calls, you're taking advantage of the leverage that Tudamoon called out in that earlier question. If you're directionally correct on a long dated option, you're going to make money. And if the market in general is going up and your selection is going up more than the theta decay is removing from your contract each day, then obviously the strategy is going to work, and it's going to be biased towards this bullish performance. The other hypothesis, the other 2-part hypothesis that I have about why this strategy has been working, and this is all anecdotal. I don't have statistical backing for this. It's the next part of this, the little research phase here. But the 2-part secondary explanation is that, number one, I believe that whales and professional money in general are very good at timing bottoms. I've seen this anecdotally, where a particular symbol will get beat up pretty bad, and the alert will come in near what appears to be a bottom or some local low, and then at that point I'll start to see the stock kind of turn around and prices start to move. So in general, professionals seem to be pretty good at not catching a falling knife. I'm making quotes again with my hands. I realize I don't have a camera on, but they're good at waiting until the bottom has kind of been found. And also, I believe that whales and professional money, at least I hypothesize that whales and professional money in general are very good at predicting sector rotation. And so the anecdotal evidence I have for that is in the early weeks of September, I started to notice a persistent trend where I was catching a lot of alerts for energy companies, most notably oil and natural gas focused companies like BP, Schlumberger. I think I even got a few alerts on XOM, which is I think that's the ETF or some kind of like tracking instrument that does the oil industry in general. Someone could test me on that, I'm sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but in general, I caught lots of natural gas companies, Cabo, ET, Energy Transfer, alerts on them early in September. And as September ticked along, there all of a sudden energy kind of took over. It was all over the news. Energy prices are going through the roof. Oil prices are going through the roof. And I noticed that many of those alerts that I was trying to get fills on because they had met my criteria and I was trying to participate, they just took off too fast and I couldn't get a fill, and they were too high by the time they were past my little target phase where you can get in and kind of ride along with them. And also at that same time, I also noticed a lot of alerts on financial services type companies, including Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Morgan Stanley. And all three of those around the end of September, if I'm not mistaken, all rallied pretty hard there as well. And so I think those whales made off handsomely on those calls as well. So my 3-part hypothesis, to bring it all the way back here, in addition to what Falcon so kindly volunteered about this strictly being statistical, is that number one, it's been a bull market, and so these calls naturally have a better chance of being successful because we've seen unprecedented growth in the market. And then the second 2 parts are that whales and professional money are good at identifying bottoms, and they are also very good at identifying sector rotation. And the first one is statistically verifiable, and the second 2 legs are just my hunch, my hypothesis right now, and I still am on the hook to prove that using the information that I will eventually gather when I get some time for that.
I appreciate that major explanation, Dan. I'm sure.
Yeah,
everyone does.
I know. Sorry, I spent so much time. It took me longer than it probably should have to put this whole thing together. But I was like so concerned because I tend to be kind of conservative, and I have, of course, picked decent trades sometimes, but like picked really bad trades other times. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I'm gonna do something and I want to make it publicly available, I want to be super duper sure that it is at least grounded in statistics and that there is some plausible explanation for why a strategy like this might be successful. And so the Unusual Whales team has been fantastic in supporting me on that, not only in generating the alerts, right? Because if there weren't any alerts, none of this study could have taken place, but also in making the data available and having fantastic folks like Ren, NeighborhoodStonerman, Falcon, everybody on the team to like look at the report, help identify problems, help me kind of study the information and look for things I might have missed in my analysis of the information.
And in my case, hold the pom-poms and cheering them on the whole way.
Yeah, boy.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, you gotta have cheerleaders to just kind of keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and I'm
I
good
know.
and loud, you know?
Boy, wait till you guys see Stoneman in a skirt.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I mean,
something.
Wait, are there
Why-
pictures of this already? Because
There could be if he would
Yes.
get to it.
I mean, so if I'm gonna be, so I'm gonna
on a
be.
date last week. Come on, man.
Since we're kind of in that lane, I was real excited because my Unusual Whales hoodie finally got here, and so there were 2 snafus with my hoodie, right? I was supposed to get it a while ago, and it got lost in the mail, and so we redid it. And I really so badly wanted to throw on a wig and get a nice low cut halter top or something, and take nice flattering photos of myself so I could feel as special as a lot of the Twitter people that get them. I want to feel pretty too. And so it's funny you should bring that up because maybe not now, but maybe there'll be a Stonerman skirt reveal in the future. Who knows?
What about a calendar?
I mean, we could
Yes.
just do an Unusual Whale spread at that point.
oh man, that
I
is.
mean, I would've-
ask spread.
I wouldn't put it past us.
A bid ask spread.
You guys are silly. I had so many different ways that went in my head. Like,
That's what we're here for.
I do have a few more questions from YouTube though for you guys. Do you guys know anything about the Tide shares, BBIG shares? Anything about those?
Are you talking about the merger?
I have no idea. Just Jabez said, "What's up with Tide shares and BBIG?"
So I will say, just from my point of view, so BBIG's been in and out of popularity for a pretty good chunk of the year. Honestly, there was some stuff earlier in the year, early spring, mid spring, where there were murmurings of the merger that they're undergoing. They're merging with a digital media company, I believe, if I remember correctly. And I played the wave on it myself, I think 4 or 5 times, and then unfortunately when the big wave that happened recently in the last couple of months here, I did not play it, which is, I mean, typical. We've all been there in some way, shape, or form. But I will say a lot of it outside of the merger, which I don't like to go super public with the way I trade or my actual trades because I don't want to feel any kind of responsibility via those trades in any way. But I was pretty successful the first few times I did it, but then eventually it became, I think, more in line with meme stocks than with actual hype for the merger for a while there. And I did see a lot of people get burned on social media from various roller coasters that it got sent on as a result of that. And so I guess my main advice in general is if you're going to play things like that have, and little wink on advice, it's not financial advice, just I would say almost commonsensical advice in one way. If you see something like that and the flow is strong for it, keep in mind that there might be surrounding circumstances for that flow. And I've written about that a few times on the Unusual Whales blog as well. Just kind of make sure you're paying attention to those surrounding circumstances, because if you're not, and you might get a little overexcited about the flow and just kind of YOLO into it, if you will. And it's important in those times to remember that the tool is a tool, not a clairvoyant that just spits out, here, buy this, buy this, buy this. It's something we have to incorporate into how you'd use your own strategy. And I would personally, I won't be playing with Be Big again just because of the uncertainty that's surrounded it ever since that initial push and drop.
Thank you for clarifying that. I had no idea what they were talking about, so that's good to know. J Bang Nuolo? I totally just butchered that name. I'm sorry. We're just gonna call you JB. I'm renaming you.
JB, I like it. JB.
So I think this is for Dan. Could we use an example from Dan's spreadsheet? Curious how to interpret PBR when I see the options chain for 617. To me, this looks more like a spread. Do you have a paid sheet for that, Dan?
Yes, I do. Okay, so if you're looking at PBR, which because as a Chicago guy, I immediately think of Pabst Blue Ribbon. Some other people have said, "Oh, I love that ticker because because I've heard that they think of it as like peanut butter something too. I don't know. I mean, but it's a Petrobras Brazilian oil Is it a pipeline or is it exploration?
They do petrol.
Okay.
So they like refine and produce.
Okay. Yeah, refining. Love it.
And they had some serious stuff go down with the government a few years ago. But that's a full different story. Ignore me.
Totally. Yeah, that totally makes sense, and I'm sure that type of thing is absolutely in the mix, or like part of the consideration here. So if you're looking at, I know it's so nerdy to talk about the spreadsheet, like as I'm like looking at it, and it's probably not on camera, but if you're looking at an alert that went off for PBR today, and it was for the June 17th, 2022 expiration cycle. The way that I'm logging that is that, okay, I saw an out of the money call, a $14 call on that, and it was an Unusual Whales alert. The original spot price of the contract was 57 cents. At the spot price of the big buying for that particular contract was around 57 cents. And so in this strategy, the tactic that you wanna do, which is always so hard because you see these alerts and it makes sense. Oil's so hot right now, but what you want to do is just wait until the original contract reaches 30% gain from the original contract spot price. And I know that seems crazy to hear someone telling you to like wait and buy high, because everybody knows you're supposed to buy low and then sell high, right? Why this guy Wagner is an idiot. But the what we're doing by waiting until an alert goes higher is we're filtering out the number of inevitably there are going to be alerts that lose, that have adverse negative outcomes, and by waiting for an alert to go positive, we immediately eliminate a large subset of alerts and contracts that are going to go negative first and might never come back. So we would want to on this Petrobras contract here, if that contract reaches 74, it says it's 0.741 in the spreadsheet, but if it reaches 74 cents, then that contract is in play, and I'm going to try and get a fill on that, because once an alert has reached 30%, it has skipped over a large number of the adverse outcomes that I'm trying to avoid. And it's very likely that this alert will reach 50 to 100% as an outcome within 6 weeks, because the 50 to 100% return is the median return from like winners of this type. So what I'm trying to do essentially is ride like the remaining 20% gain from 30 until 50. And if the contracts are relatively inexpensive, like they are for Petrobras here, then I might buy 2 or 3. I have a small trading account. I'm not able to make big moves and buy 10 or 20 lots, right? I'm going to be buying like 2 or maybe 3. And if I had 3, then I would try to scale out between 50 and 100%. But more often than not, these contracts tend to be expensive. And so I can only buy 1 at a time. And so when that contract hits 50%, I look to exit and take that 20% gain, 20 to 30% gain, and am very pleased with that. And over time, as I try to build up my trading account size, then eventually maybe I'll buy 2 contracts or 3 contracts, and I'll be able to more effectively scale out. There's a really good thing too that came up in the other presentation that I kind of got roasted for here. So as far as mechanics go, you could set a trailing stop loss on these contracts, assuming your brokerage supports a trailing stop loss. I at this time, my most of my trading account sits inside Tastyworks, which I like for lots of different reasons, and this isn't an official endorsement. I just happen to use Tastyworks, but Tastyworks does not have a trailing stop loss type order. So I got roasted in the chat because I wasn't able to take advantage of that particular order type to let runners run, as they say, and possibly ride out some of these contracts even higher. So I'm kind of working on ways to perhaps take more advantage of those. And in the original question too, you mentioned like doing a call debit spread. That's a great idea. I love that. On a lot of these, for example, one trade that I got into, right? Because again, this is all public information. I'm like, using this system, and I'm going to track the entries and the trades that I'm able to get into. And so one that I got into was an Intel trade for the April 2022. Oh yeah, April 2022 expiration cycle, and it was part of a call debit spread. The $60 the $60 nose of the trade was a little bit too expensive. It was like too much risk for my account, and just going with the $75 call seemed very risky because I was like very far out of the money. So I simulated exactly what that whale did, and I bought a 60-75 call debit spread to assume the same bullish thesis as whoever it was, whatever professional money or whale or whatever did that trade on the 20th of September.
I'm just gonna hang out with you for weeks and weeks. I'm just gonna pick your brain more and more.
Just keep an audio recorder running at all times, so that in case he goes on a tangent, you can just absorb all of it and research it.
100%. This is incredible.
It's really hard for us to pay attention to him when he has his webcam on because he's so beautiful that we just
and he's animated.
Everything he says just goes through our ears.
I am very animated, right? So it's probably a good idea to turn off the camera because you'd see me like waving my arms and pointing at the screen. It'd be a whole predicament. But I am very animated. But I'm totally happy to answer these types of questions. Like Stonerman and Ren and Falcon are all without doubt, very knowledgeable traders, and as a group, I think we can help answer questions whether they're pertinent to this strategy or anything really at all. I mean, we'll certainly give it a try.
I hope you guys are buckled in because we have a couple more. And anybody, this is open to anybody. I'm renaming somebody because I can't say the first part of their name. So K-Nair, question asked. I'm tired of butchering people's names at this point. With the Congress on vacay next week and deadline of 18th of October, do you think we will go into deep red territory for the market if we don't raise the debt limit by the end of the week? Anyone? It's
actually a difficult one because, first and foremost, the debt ceiling is a tricky situation in and of itself, right? And I don't know, it's a very delicate situation as well, because I don't think that, given the fact that America is divided in two camps, Republican or Democrat, I don't know for sure if they'll be like, oh, I'll be in my side, you'll be in your side. So I don't know how the market will react. I think we'll see a bigger impact from Evergrande and things like that, and margins coming into play. And I think up to the last minute, it can still get signed. We don't know what will happen, so it's extremely tricky. I've tried putting my I've actually wasted like 3 days on trying to find out if the U.S. has ever defaulted or what the implications would have been or something like that.
US
but it's never happened yet.
Nope, never happened.
Nope. Negative.
So we don't have any idea what's going to happen or how it's going to impact. It's anyone's guess at this point.
Speaking of Evergrande, Johnny Rocket comes in with a question about your guys' thoughts on big firms buying Chinese debt. Found that BlackRock, Marathon, HSBC have been buying Evergrande debt. Any thoughts?
Rensole did some diving on Evergrande.
Yeah, There are two possibilities that they're doing this here. One part is if you buy a bond, or at least if I'm wrong, please correct me, but this is to my understanding. If you buy a bond and it goes bust, you still get your money back in some weird way because you can still short it or do whatever. And if they do well, you can still sell the underlying bond, so you still make money. So I think it's a catch-22 situation. Like they'll find one way or another to make money out of this. And to be honest, if you look at companies like BlackRock, for example, they're kind of, in a way, the fourth branch of government unofficially because they're so immensely huge.
Don't they have
That-
like 8 trillion assets under management or some insane number
Yes.
like
Oh,
that?
it's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, they could buy Evergrande 10 times over and not even blink.
Exactly. So they're not at any margin problems. They're not at any kind of red tape that they have to cut through. It's like a billionaire going into a expensive store for us. It's not expensive for them. So in that case, they're either banking on, you know what, I'm going to make a bet, YOLO.
Yeah, it's
We've all
essentially them going
gambled
to a
on
candy
it.
ball
Oh, sorry.
machine.
We've all
Yeah.
gambled on earnings, and this is the same thing for them.
Right, with significantly less risk.
Yeah, exactly. I gamble on earnings, and I'm down 20%. They gamble on
Well,
earnings,
there you
and
go.
they lose a Snickers for the office.
That's all the questions I have for you guys so far. Did you guys have something else that you wanted to talk about? Because I know before we started, you had a couple other things that you wanted to say.
We just figured we'd kind of roll with it and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And it got very informational, and so I would deem it a success. But anytime Dan opens his mouth, it's usually a success. Except for when he said that I was smart earlier. That was
No,
a
that's-
questionable assessment.
No, it's very,
Uh,
very true. Very true, y'all. And thank you
Thanks.
for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Yep, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
deal.
keep you around, and you're going to be an honorary staff member of the BullHouse. I mean, you guys all are, Unusual Whales. But Dan, I've never gotten to meet you, so it's been quite fantastic. And Falcon and NeighborhoodStonerman, you guys are fantastic.
Actually,
I just saw a
unknown.
question. Oh, sorry.
No, go
Rensole.
ahead.
Okay. I just saw a question come in the chat from, I'm going to attempt to pronounce their name, Kahia. Kia Nair, I think. Could be extremely wrong.
That's that's what that's who K Nair was.
I'm taking a gamble on it. Do you think SPY is touching the 200-day EMA, or is Red September the end of the bear run? My personal understanding of it is that we really can't tell, given all of the speculative future aspects of the market. I mean, what we touched on earlier with the Evergrande situation, the U.S. debt ceiling needing to be raised so the government doesn't shut down. There's so many intangibles that are looking forward in the future that we can't really tell more than 2 weeks ahead of now where things are going to be, because more things can come up. For example, 3 weeks ago, we didn't even know that the U.S. was completely running out of money. There could have been little bits and pieces and and a paper trail left around, but we didn't know that was going to be coming to fruition, and now it's an actual thing, and it has affected the market, and same with the Evergrande thing. But there's so much volatility and confusion as far as the future of markets, given us coming out of this COVID mess, that we can't tell when the bear run is going to end or when another bull run is going to start. I do remember seeing a hypothesis that since retail traders are such a large percentage of current liquidity, I think around 20 to 30%, somebody could correct me on that, that we could see a bull run continue even when we start to see the inflation taper rise, we see some more economic events happen, and we could keep propping up the indexes just by being retail traders and providing that liquidity, all being perma-bulls. I mean, this is the BullHouse, so I'd venture to say that most of us in here are bulls, and it could spell another bull run. It could mean another couple of months of down.
And I will
But
say,
that being,
to your bull run comment, in May, I scored the mythical single share of SPY at exactly $420.69.
Nice.
And
Beautiful.
even with all of the red panic shit that, the fear and the uncertainty and the general fully opaque future that we can see with all of the crazy shit going on, my 426.9 average is still looking pretty damn good.
Now, was
So
this on a market buy or a limit buy?
Oh, I had to put in a funky order for this. It was it was May. I'll have to check. I posted it on Twitter at one point, but that was before people thought I was cute and started following me. Maybe I'll reshare it just for the nostalgia. But yeah, it was a weird limit order where I had to have, a limit top and a limit bottom. And even then, the first 3 times it filled at 70, and the fourth time it filled at 68. And so I just kept selling it back to try to get it again, and eventually it finally stuck right at 426.9.
You're an absolute clown.
Yeah, you were there. It was exciting.
I
and
was.
You know it.
I was. It was super exciting. I have a
Like, let's
screenshot on my phone when
go!
it hit.
That is so
But yeah,
silly.
it's looking comfortable. I mean, hell, what is that? How many months has that been? I mean, we're up. It's still up almost 7% in 6 months, and I mean, even for SPY, that's pretty sexy. And so, in terms of overall, things are scary when they're scary, but it's scary for short term. So even when we had massive sell-offs in November, was it? Everything kind of rebounded quickly from that. Honestly, the only thing personally that I haven't seen that I've touched or followed well rebound well was the cannabis sector post memeing.
Yeah, there was actually a pattern or something. I remember you talking about this
Yeah,
a
that pattern's
month or
gone.
2 ago. Like there used to be a pattern in it, and now it's gone.
Yeah, there's a very predictable on most cannabis stocks, like the Canadian ones anyway. The OTC cannabis stocks generally hold pretty strong because they're the American companies, and American companies make money because despite the legal issues here, they don't have certain government controlled restrictions that Canadian companies have, and so they turn profit. But they used to have a pretty predictable up and down roller coaster that you could follow without. And I mean, at the time, I was a new trader, so I was just following the roller coaster week in and wake out without knowing anything technical, and succeeded for a year until it got the Reddit meme treatment in February. But I won't overbore y'all with that. We already had the sexy information from Dan. We've got Falcon with his sultry voice as well.
You guys have been such a wealth of information. I do have Chef Hills, who is also Hallister, one of my BullHouse staff, asking if you guys could spam some of the links that you guys talked about into the Trade Talk chat, or even anywhere. I might actually make you guys a little section in here for anything that you feel you might want to share with the BullHouse. That might be in a couple days, but if you want to spam any of those links that you guys were talking about, feel free.
Yeah, sure.
Also,
sorry.
Sorry, the last question I will give you guys is any thoughts on the MOAS?
Yes.
That's
right. That's it. Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
We do have thoughts, but that's it.
That's it.
Dude,
I love it.
My portfolio is GME. I mean, I found out there were other stocks when I joined UnusualWhales, and I was like, what?
You know, I've had that effect on people too. When I talk about different stocks, and people are like, "Wait, there's other things," and I'm like, "Yes, guys." So they're really no, just kidding. It gets
no,
pretty
but
fun.
on that, we can speculate a lot, but to me, from the things I've seen, from the things of the lawsuit coming out on Citadel and Robinhood and all that other stuff, look, for me, it's simple. I like the stock. I bought the stock. I still have the stock, and I'm going to hold the stock until this is all over. And then I'm going to probably going to dump my money in GME because I actually, even without MOS, this company is awesome.
They're doing some interesting stuff over in Europe too with the new openings and things. I saw some stores popping up in malls that look pretty fucking sharp.
Yep, I'm actually going there to Germany on Saturday.
Hey.
So wasn't it like 4 a.m. for you?
3, yes.
Goodness.
What is sleep?
You know, I'm starting to ask that question too. What is this notorious sleep thing people talk about?
Yeah, they keep talking about it, and meanwhile,
Can I buy shares?
right?
Is it optionable?
I think we're short on it.
Puts.
Yeah, we're short sleep.
We've shorted our sleep the last 10 months. But no, guys, this has been phenomenal. I appreciate you guys coming on here and taking over the BullHouse. I hope you guys come back every Tuesday. No, I'm just kidding. I won't hog you because I know you guys have your own Twitch channel, right? You guys are on Twitch doing your own thing.
We do, but they ain't Tuesday. Just saying.
And ain't Tuesday. Hey, we could do Unusual Word Tuesday. No. Anytime you're more than welcome. But if you guys want to send me your Twitch link, I'll put it in the description. Everyone that has been in the Discord or on the YouTube, whether you're listening live or listening tomorrow, because it seems to be a thing, go follow Rensole, NeighborhoodStonerman, Falcon, Dan. Apparently the man with a glorious beard, which you can't see because he doesn't have his cam on. Apparently it's legendary. But no, you guys can go follow them on their Twitch channel. And UnusualWhales, amazing guy. I've been around him since January, February, when he was like a one-man party and going, oh crap, I think I need more people. So
give credit where credit was due. Snorlax's support was with him in the trenches too.
Yep.
Was
Falcon
he? I
was
didn't
wading
know that.
in.
Nice. Okay, call that out. Give credit.
They kept the Discord under control during the craziness that the influx of WSB to the Discord. They tried to keep that unlocked.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That was
At one
Snorlax.
point,
a horrible
I think
time.
they had like 3-minute delay times for messages.
I remember specifically implementing that. I had Snorlax message me and say, "We are exploding, please help." And I put 5-minute timers on everything. People got pissed and the chat was still too fast to read. I've never seen so many rocket emojis in one day, I'll tell you that.
That is so awesome. No, I appreciate that, being in the trenches with him. I mean, like I said, I was early on the scene in January, so I didn't know who was connected to who yet. So I look forward to seeing what you guys do. It's
all
epic.
coming interwoven too. And again, definitely, really thank you for having us on. And
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime, reach out to me or Rensole if you ever want to jump the Twitch and shoot the shit there sometime.
Heck
Oh yeah, let's go.
That's my old stomping ground. Oh yes, no, for sure. Guys, if you don't mind sticking around for just a little bit afterwards, we'll wrap this up and say our goodbyes. So, everyone on YouTube, has been awesome having you guys. Thank you for all the support and supporting the UnusualWhales. They are a fantastic group. Go follow them. Good night, guys.
Good night.
All right.
Bye, all.